Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to take a tour of the privacy berm. We are quickly approaching our second anniversary of this garden, and it is the very end of August, and the house side of the berm is looking pretty spectacular, if I do say so myself. So I want to take you on a little tour, show you our successes, and yes, I'm sure there are a few messes in here as well. We keep it very real gardening, real life gardening here at Creekside Nursery. And so we do these videos hopefully to educate you, to inspire you, and to give you some ideas that maybe you can bring to your own garden. Not that you have to copy the exact design that we have here at Creekside. Maybe it is a plant that you find and you're like, that's a really cool plant. I'm gonna add that to my garden. That is the goal of this video. So we are standing here on the house side of the berm. It's about 9:30 in the morning, and you can see how the sun is making its way from the bottom of the berm and then will come up here. So basically, to give you an idea of this space, if you're new to Gardening with Creekside, we created this privacy berm so that it separates our house, because that is our house right there, and then just on the other side of the berm there is the nursery. So gives us a little privacy, and heck, if we can ever create a new garden, then we are absolutely going to do that. This is our second year of the berm. This is our second year of planting the house side with annuals. So we like to do a massive display of annuals on this side. So we're going to take a look at that. And then on the nursery side, it is shrubs and perennials that give us year-round interest. This flower bed is on irrigation. However, it has not been run in probably the last at least 6 weeks, because we've gotten such great consistent rain that I have not need to run it. So kind of gives you an idea. It is considered a full sun spot. As you can see, like we talked about, the sun starts down here and then makes its way up to the top of the berm. The top of the berm gets hot, intense afternoon sun, while the bottom of the berm closest to the creek goes into the shade the first. So that kind of gives you an idea and of what is what. Now here in this top corner, this is one that's looking a little rougher right now. Certain things and other things are looking spectacular. But we have phlox in here, and denim and lace, and then heliopsis, and of course the Niagara Falls grass back there. These are quick fire fab hydrangeas. This year they were in full bloom and absolutely gorgeous, and we got a massive storm and they laid down some. I have quick fire fab just on the tree line back here, like up against the creek, and they did great. These just got a little floppy on me. Clearly I have not done anything with them, and we'll prune them in the late winter. And then of course you have Stellar Ruby Magnolia. Y'all, this is a great one. It is a banana shrub from our friends at Southern Living Plant Collection. Just a beautiful evergreen, small tree, large shrub. She is looking great. She is loving life. You can prune it however you want. I'm just kind of keeping it pruned up from the bottom so that we don't get weeds up in there. But yeah, so there you go. She is doing quite nicely. Love the fact that we have a nice evergreen and have some structure in there year round up here at the top of the berm. Now, what is looking so lovely are the annuals, and I'm really pleased with how it looks now. When we first planted it, probably for the first 6 weeks after we planted it, I was like, oh my gosh, we have made the biggest mistake. Y'all, these plants took forever to get going. But my gosh, once they did, they are so happy. And if you remember when we planted them, I made like pockets because I thought, oh, well, we can walk between the little areas. Yeah. No, they are so full and so happy that there is no walking between them. Maybe you'll see like a little bit of a hole, whether it's wind. No, actually there's a little spot right here. Like you could walk there if you wanted to. Another little spot right there. But what we have, this is the red zone lantana. Huge fan of lantanas for this very reason, because late summer in North Carolina, zone 8A, they are happy. They are going strong. Red zone is such a fun lantana because you get those gorgeous red flowers on it, but you also get a little bit of orange, right? So you can see that they mature to this color. Start out here, and then they will mature to this. And it's just a great, great plant. Now, while this bed is on irrigation, we do not have drip running to these annuals. I know it is what it is. So even if we turn the irrigation on, these plants are not going to get water. The irrigation on this side goes to the shrubs and the perennials and the trees, not to the annuals. And they are fine. We have, of course, the Sun-credible sunflower back there in the back. Those are going to be underneath the cherry trees. You can deadhead them. They make great cut flowers. But honestly, I just haven't gotten in there to do that. They're doing fine, so I'll leave them alone. Then the salvia, playing the blues salvia. Like, look, y'all. I don't know if the camera's picking up on all the bees that are on this plant. This is probably one of all the salvias, really, but this one in particular, the bees love this salvia. I like it because it has a different leaf kind of color and texture than your other rockins. Really nice, whether you want to call it, it really is a deep purple. It is not a blue, but in the horticultural world, purple is blue sometimes. And so, but they are just not, haven't deadheaded them. When we very first planted them, I did deadhead, but since then I have left them alone, and they have just filled in incredibly nice and are just so happy. And the bees love them, your hummingbirds love them, the butterflies love this lantana. So this is like a pollinator paradise right here. And then, of course, we have, for fun pops of color, we have the newly noir coleus. Near black coleus, yes, it is blooming. The color blazes are slow to bolt and so, or go to flower. It is the end of August, and so they're just starting to show a little bit of flowers. Honestly, I don't like my coleus to flower. I would rather go ahead and get in here and prune them, but such is life, and they have not been pruned back or, you know, deadheaded, whatever you want to call it, and they're doing what they're doing, and it's fine. Then the star of the show, along with the other annuals, is the Holy Grail. Summerific Holy Grail. We have 3 of them here along the fence. These are the perennial hibiscus, nice and big and huge. They open and close with, you know, in the morning in the sun, and they are just doing great, and that nice color contrast is fabulous. Then we have the gorgeous, gorgeous yellow lantana. Lemon Tart is a great lantana because it just has such bright, happy, cherry yellow flowers on it that your butterflies just go nuts over. And y'all, this is where I planted them in like groups, and you cannot tell that they were planted in groups. They have gotten so happy. They are so vigorous. They are just growing together, but this yellow from a distance makes a huge impact. Nice big pop of color. And so you can see how, you know, coming in here in the center and having that yellow at the base of those Holy Grails, like I said, from our front porch, you can see this so clearly. And then popping off of the blue. So this is Artist Blue Ageratum. It too can handle our heat and humidity like an absolute champion. Nice, low growing, kind of a mounded habit on it, and the blue and the yellow together are just absolutely gorgeous. And then underneath the other cherry tree, we repeated, right? So we have again the newly noir, you've got the red zone, you have the Sun-credibles, we got some butterflies on these already, you have the salvias. So all of that kind of repeats together, and looking at it as a whole, it is I have to say, quite lovely, lovely explosion of color. This time of year, this is when the cherry trees begin turning their leaves, get a little yellow, and they start dropping. And then we have the flowering plum tree here in the center, same thing. So this is typical for the trees, end of the summer, just go ahead and start shedding their leaves. The cherry trees are one of the first ones to lose their leaves, so that's, in our opinion, is a great sign, right? We love that. And then, so yeah, coming in here and with these annuals, we have been really pleased now with how they look. Like I said, earlier in the summer, I was really starting to regret my choices, and I thought, okay, I've messed up. this is not going to work. It's working now. Now, next year, what we're going to do is, we'll actually hopefully do it this late fall, early winter, is that, of course, the annuals will be gone because they are annuals. For me, these lantanas are annuals, especially here in the berm, because they're not going to be protected from the cold winter winds. So we treat these as annuals here. So all the annuals will come out, and then we are going to plant this side of the berm similarly to the nursery side, meaning that we're going to use a lot more shrubs and perennials on this side, so that every year we're not having to plant massive amounts of annuals, because it's a lot of work to plant them, maintain them, pull them out. Shrubs and perennials, you know, they have maintenance as well, but this is just a whole little bit different level of it. And so we're going to be planting this side with more shrubs, perennials. We will have pockets for annuals, but not just a huge, massive annual display on this side. Now, we've talked about how much I love Pink Cascade 2. This is a huge butterfly bush from our friends at Walter's Gardens. You can see clearly that I have not deadheaded it. Of course, if I did deadhead it, then that would just clean the plant up. You don't have to deadhead your buddleias, but if you want to, it's perfectly fine. But you can see, like, some from the older blooms, like, look how big. Look at that. Pink Cascade 2 has that gorgeous, really soft kind of baby doll pink blooms to it that later on today, once the butterflies wake up and it gets nice and warm, they will be covering this plant, as are the bees. So this is a great pollinator plant. They love the buddleia. It is nice and big, and so yeah, they're doing quite well. Then as we move on down, we have this little corner right here at the end of the berm. So we'll make our way down, give you kind of an update on how everybody is doing. We have 3 October Magic Ruby camellias. These are camellias from Southern Living. They are sasanquas, meaning that they are going to bloom in the fall. You can look at a camellia and pretty much know right away if it's going to be a fall bloomer or a winter bloomer, because of the leaf size. When you have a nice petite little leaf like this, this is going to be a fall bloomer, a sasanqua. If you get really big giant leaves on it, that is a japonica, meaning that it is going to bloom in, say, depends on where you are, it could be from like January to March. So that kind of gives you an idea. October Magic Ruby is a full sun, loves the sun camellia. Obviously, by its name, it is going to be a nice deep ruby red color, and we're already getting some buds on here. So you can see there's little buds right here, and so these are going to be really lovely in that deep red. And then we have the clematis. This is the Hudson, I want to say it's Hudson River, from our friends at Brushwood Nursery. They specialize in clematis. So if you're looking for a clematis, I just send people to Brushwood. They're an online nursery in Georgia, do a great job, and have a huge selection of clematis. I had never thought about using a clematis as a ground cover until the owner said, "Hey, I want you to try this." And I was like, sure, why not? So he sent me 3, and so we have one. I probably need to move the second one. It was behind this camellia, like it's between the camellia and the pufferfish. Clearly, I think I need to move it. And then the third one is right here, and I probably need to clean it up in here, but you know what, it started flowering again, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. But this is a great way to use clematis in a unique way. Use it as a ground cover. And then this gorgeous, deep purple, again, horticultural world blue, but really it is a deep purple. So pretty, just a gorgeous one, extremely low maintenance. This blooms on brand new growth. So what I will do is I will cut it completely back. I mean, like all the foliage will be completely gone. So there are type 1, type 2, type 3 clematis, and that determines how they bloom and when you prune it. Brushwood does a great job of explaining that, and they tell you right up front what type each clematis is. So this blooms on brand new growth, cut it all the way back, and I love it. And then we have pufferfish. Pufferfish has done great all summer. It is the end of August in North Carolina with the heat and the humidity. She has new blooms on her, but she also has her older blooms. And she has done a really great job, has grown tremendously this year. But we love pufferfish because it is a panicle hydrangea, which means that it loves the sun. Check, we got that taken care of. And it blooms on new growth. So in late winter, for me, that means about like February, I will come in here and I will prune it back by a third to a fourth. You're guaranteed flowers every single year, and they are color specific, meaning that your pH level will not change the color of your flowers. And so you can see for us here in North Carolina, this is what they do. They are a nice creamy white, and then they age to kind of a limey green. Now for us, I don't get bright, gorgeous red, pink hydrangeas like this. It goes from this to this. That is because of our heat and humidity. So if you are in the South and you have panicle hydrangeas and you're like, why does my panicle not look like, you know, the pictures? It is because of our climate. It has absolutely nothing to do with the plant. It is all about our climate. Our nights are so incredibly hot and humid. The plants don't get a break, and therefore they need those cool nights to take on that pink hue, those red hues. We don't get that until late like October, November, right? If we're lucky, sometime in September. And so that's why our panicles do not turn a pink. You're not doing anything wrong. Blame it on the southern climate. So there you go. And then last but certainly not least, on the end of this bed, this is an example of planting for the future. Here we have a golden Oakland holly, again from our friends at Southern Living Plant Collection. Love this tree because it is an evergreen. It is a holly, so yes, it has a little bit of a pokeability factor, not anything crazy. It's not gonna, you know, wound you in any way, but I love it because of the color. It has that beautiful variegation color to it. You can see that the new leaves are very kind of bright chartreuse with a dark center to it. And then as they age, they'll turn more of like a creamy white on the outside and then keep that green center. Now this is going to be, you can see that we've got some good new growth here on the top. And this will be, I want to say it's in that 12 to 15 tall, 4 to 5 wide at the bottom, that kind of height to it. And so I specifically planted it here because I wanted it on the house side, but I wanted to have the North Pole arborvitaes as a backdrop to it. So that way they complement each other really nicely, and the golden Oakland will pop off of the North Poles. Last year, you know, I planted coleus all through here and it just swallowed up this tree. So I intentionally left it blank this year so that the sun could get all around the tree and that we could get some nice growth on it and have beautiful color all around it, and that is happening. What I will do is I'm not going to prune it now. I will wait until really honestly probably late winter, early spring, and I'll come in here and just give her a gentle prune just to shape it up a little bit, right? Because I don't want some of these limbs just to go crazy. I want to keep a nice overall shape. So I will prune her one time late winter going into spring as we enter into the growing season to give it some nice shape and to keep it a little bit more even and cohesive. Now, I do have a lovely corner right here that there is nothing. So what I am going to plant here probably next week. This week we're back into summer. Jenny's probably gonna be glistening here in a second. But this week we're gonna hit like 97, 98 degrees. We're slowly working our way back up there. Last week was lovely and cool and dry. It was glorious. This week we're back to summer. Next week is gonna be much cooler and rainier. What I wanna do is I'm going to plant a Kinsley's Ghost. Kinsley's Ghost is a type of honeysuckle. It is a vine. It has a beautiful like silver blue foliage to it. Just really, really unique. So I thought this would be fun to plant it in about this area here and then let it climb up the fence. The idea is that it will, we'll plant it I don't know exactly. I won't plant it too far here. I'm thinking more right here, let it climb up the fence and kind of spread both ways on the fence. Give me a whole nother layer of color and texture and interest in this area. We saw that Kinsley's Ghost when we toured Spring Meadow Nursery at the display garden, and you remember that they created their own little cage for it to grow on, and it was just really fun, really gorgeous, and so that's what we're going to do there. Now, on the nursery side of the berm, which we would love for you to come walk and take a tour of. Now, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I haven't looked at this space in quite a while, so we're gonna discover how it looks all together. We are battling the sun. I'm doing the best I can here. We have the North Pole arborvitaes, right? So I put them specifically on this corner to give me some weight on this corner of the flower bed and to eventually give me a nice, beautiful screen. Y'all, these plants in 2 years have grown tremendously. They are happy. When we planted these, they were about even with the fence. So you can see that beautiful growth that we have gotten in right at about 2 years. And so they are doing just lovely. Again, we repeat with the Holy Grail. So we've got several of those, got 3 of those in there with the, y'all, that sun is bright. Lousy bee. This is the Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush. Y'all, when I tell you that I planted this thing and it was a small 1-gallon shrub, that is what I planted. And I pruned it. Remember, I pruned it out of winter going into spring to kind of give it more of a tighter habit to it. Holy cow, this thing is happy and grows like crazy right here. Now, with the smoke bush, it needs the full sun to get that gorgeous color, but it also needs a break in the afternoon sun. Remember, I told you that this end goes into the shade first. So about 3-ish, this starts to go in the shade. So it gets a break from the intense hot afternoon sun. But y'all, it has grown. It is a fast grower. Just to prove my point, I want to show you some places where I pruned it. And of course, I've got my friend in here. Excuse me. Out we go. There we go. So it was, pruned right here. And then all this is this year's growth. Absolutely gorgeous. Love this Winecraft Gold. So pretty up against the Holy Grails. And then as we move on through, we have got more of the Niagara Falls. We have got the Amsonia. Remember, this is the string theory. And remember, I pruned it. So see how nice and compact it is. It's not floppy at all. Will give us gorgeous bright yellow fall foliage on it. And then here we have Queen Nectarine Agastache. So this is done really, really well right here. The Queen, all your Agastache loves the hot, well-draining soil. And then the Queen Nectarine gets its name because it has those beautiful nectarine peach-colored flowers on it. And then the calyxes are a nice pink. So gorgeous plant. Hummingbirds love it. Your butterflies love it. Doing really, really well. And then we can finally see my little lime punches are here. So we have punches here, and then we have punches right here. Again, they are going mostly to kind of that limey green and that brown. My little lime punches, y'all, they just don't turn because of our weather. If you're in Michigan, y'all are lucky. Enjoy those gorgeous colors. We get our flowers first and we have a more mild winter, but we don't get those beautiful flower colors that you do. Also, update. Remember, I whacked back my daisy maize. Remember, they were really, really floppy. Well, look at that. Look at all that beautiful new growth, even have a couple of little flowers on them. So they have flushed back out quite nicely, just as I knew that they would. And then the Pugster Pinkers. Pugster Pinker butterfly bush, we have this in mass right here in front of the purple plum tree, doing really nice. They just kind of hang out, do their thing. Beautiful, nice, compact, really rich pink flowers on them. And then we have the Sunjoy Orange Pillar Barberries. And they too are doing quite lovely. You can see if you don't get full sun down into the interior, they'll have more of a green, and then as you come up and it gets all that beautiful sun, lovely orange color to it. You can prune your barberries however you need to. They don't bloom, so feel free to prune them, shape them up however you need. I always will prune them and give them a shape at the end of winter into spring. If you notice that repetitive theme, that is when I do probably 99% of my pruning. Going out of winter into spring, you're entering into the growing season. Now, talking about the panicles and the color, this is about as much color as I'm gonna get on my hydrangeas. So if I could even have this nice little rosy blush pink on my panicle hydrangeas, man, I would be ecstatic. So yeah, just to kind of give you a reference point here on expectations, right? We all want to have realistic expectations of what things are going to look like. So there you go. Yeah, so we're making our way up here. The chartreuse on the loose is looking a little rough right now. Wouldn't hurt certainly to come in there and give her a little bit of a prune. Gorgeous chartreuse nepeta. Yeah, she's looking a little rough. Could go in here and have a little love on her. The Monarda is kind of use some love as well. Just being honest here with you folks. And then these are the echinaceas. So this is all the fuchsia is bright in here. Now you'll notice that I don't have any more flowers, but I am leaving my heads, right? So I leave the heads here because your birds love to come in here and eat the seeds. Your finches especially. So while it may be a little unsightly to see, you know, the dead heads right up there, we leave them for the birds. We want to do everything we can to encourage our sweet little songbirds to live a very happy life here at Creekside, and this is one way that we can do it. The Vino Verde is doing quite nicely. Love this Weigela because of its really fun foliage color. So you've got near black on the outside, a nice bright green on the inside. I pruned this also in the spring, nice and compact. Your Weigelas bloom on old growth. In fact, we've got a couple little blooms right there, which is a nice surprise. But you want to prune this after it flowers. Do not prune this in the fall or you will have zero flowers on your Weigelas. And then of course we repeat back again. The Holy Grail is back up here. You'll notice that we repeat some of those flowers over and over again. Now going back into the shade. Where we had the orange pillar up by the purple plum tree, here at the base of the pine we have Sunjoy Neo. Sunjoy Neo is going to be more wide than it is tall. Look at the color though. Absolutely stunning. Love this. I did have 3 planted. I think the third one was kind of like right where Brenna is. And I lost that, I think in the wintertime. So I did lose 1. But you know, hey, it is what it is. And it just gives you an opportunity to plant something new, right? Now, speaking of losing some plants, here we have the Caryopteris. This is the Beyond Pink. And last year I planted in like early spring, I believe it was, 3 of these guys right here. And so that's why I kind of have a little bit of a hole right here. The Caryopteris are especially the Beyond Pink, they love it hot and they love it dry. They don't like cold, wet, and if you're gonna lose one, it's gonna be in the winter time. When I planted these, this is a gardener's fault. I planted it, this is the north facing side, and so the cold winter winds come through here. So I lost 2, but this one stayed. It is what it is, right? But the Beyond Pink, you can see that she is putting on her flower buds. So right here, all of these are flower buds, and she's actually covered in it. Late bloomer. Beautiful pink baby doll flowers that they look like little flying saucers to me. Such a cool plant. With your Caryopteris, if you are on the border of being a little too cool like I am, leave it alone. Don't prune it. Don't touch it. Don't do anything. If you're going to prune it, you wait until the spring, and this is later spring when you see some green foliage coming back. Once you see green foliage coming back on your Caryopteris, then you're going to prune it. Don't do it beforehand. My Artemisia, y'all, it's just looking sad. It just needs to come. I needed to come in here and absolutely shear it back. Take all of this off, because down here in the center, I've got new growth. And if I come in here and cut it back just like I did my, my daisies, then it will flush back out and be fine. But yeah, right now, they need a little love. Let's talk about the pine tree. So this is a thunderhead pine, one of my favorite trees. I didn't know how much I love this tree until I had this tree, and now I just absolutely adore it. Now, your thunderhead is a Japanese black pine. It is like a Dr. Seuss tree. It has a very fun, whimsical habit. It is going to be wider than it is tall, and as a pine, it is an evergreen, and it just has these fun shape to it, y'all. And so it has been a fast grower. It loves this spot. So basically all of this top right here, all of this is new. And in fact, it's candling again. So candling is where they look like little candles, right? So this is your new growth. This will then turn into these little pines, these pine needles. So it is an extremely happy tree right here. Now, because the tree is so happy and it is growing, which I love, you will notice though that it is starting to encroach on my Sunjoy Neo. Am I moving the pine tree or am I moving the shrub? I am moving the shrub. So like this fall, what I can do is dig this up and bring it a little closer next to its little friend right here. Same thing with the daylily. Now the daylilies are kind of okay, but if I'm gonna move them, the fall would be a great time to do it. So these two daylilies right here, notice how close they are. So I could take one and maybe this one here on the corner, and I could bring it in front. It looks like I've lost a Shasta daisy, not a problem. Take this guy, slide it over, give the pine tree lots of room to grow. So this is what, when we say that as gardeners, we're professional plant movers, not only does that mean like here at Creekside, but really any gardener. I know my mama, she is a master. She is a master professional plant mover. If one plant is not happy, she moves it. If one plant is extremely happy and taking over somebody else and she wants that plant to stay there, then she moves the neighbors. So we're constantly changing our gardens. We're moving, we're adding, we're taking away. Maybe something is doing great. Maybe it's doing too great and is like taking over other plants and you're like, no, you gotta go. Then we take it out, give it away, do whatever, right? Move it to a different location where it can just absolutely grow, bloom, and thrive. So don't be afraid to move plants, right? These are plants. They are a lot tougher than we give them credit for. So you absolutely can move things. If they're not working, move them. If they're working too well and you need them gone, move them. Optimally, the better times to move them would be like spring and fall. Definitely if you're in the southeast or in the south, warmer zones. So if you're in those warmer zones, I would say like late winter. So depending on where you are, that could be February, that could be March, possibly early April. For me, that's starting to get a little warm. You can move them then. Or the best time for me to move stuff, a lot of the things, is in the fall. So into September, October, November, December, go ahead and move them. Historically, I don't want to be moving things in late May, June, July, and August because it's so hot and you're putting that plant under a lot of stress. We want to make it easy on you and we want to make it easy on the plant. So if you need to divide your hostas, we're getting ready to go into a great time to do that. If you need to move a hydrangea, going into a great time to do that. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're in colder zones, then typically going into the fall is not the best time because your ground freezes, We don't have to worry about that here in the South. So the best time for you to be doing that would be in the springtime as you go into your warm season. So that's why we have to be a student of our own garden, because what I may say works really well here in North Carolina, a zone 8A, may not work at all for Washington State or Oregon or the UP of Michigan or Canada or Australia, wherever you may be. You've got to be a student of your own garden. Take the information that I tell you about how plants adapt and how they grow, tweak it, and just don't be afraid, right? They're plants, y'all. They're a lot tougher than we give them credit for, and if they die, it's a plant. It's not a person. It's not your beloved pet. It's just a plant. It'll be okay. So we are very happy with how the berm is doing, how it is growing. Of course, there's messes and successes. There always will be. In some years, one plant will do great and others will not. And then the next year, they flip-flop. So that is what keeps it interesting. That's what keeps it fun. You never know what's going to grow, bloom, and thrive. And we as gardeners simply just adapt and pivot and move on. And there is grace in gardening, my friends. So I hope you have found this fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have an amazing day. And Brenna and I are going to go do some gardening chores before the heat hits. As always, we appreciate you. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.